Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening, watching another episode of the Stivers Show. Very excited about my guest and a little nervous because he's a seasoned podcaster. So I'm hoping he's not judging me too much right now. But Sean Russell. Sean is a founder of SoFLo Vegan, also CEO. He's got an amazing digital marketing agency, Lasaris. So very excited to have him on. Sean, what's going on, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here speaking to another podcaster located in Miami. Love the backdrop. Makes me proud to be a native South Floridian.
Exactly, man. Yeah, whenever I have people, I was speaking with a guy from London last week, and he's like, man, it's just brutally cold and rainy here. It's like super, everyone's always super jealous. So, and this is like the best, our best season as well. But well, before we dive in, because I know I'm excited to talk to you. I've been listening to your podcast for a little while and excited to have you on the show. But, I kind of always like to start, maybe just talk a little bit about, who you are and what do you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, lately that's been a loaded question as I unpack my past, but I'm a media producer, but I have had backgrounds as an IT professional, an educator, you name it. So my background has been creating videos, went to high school, had opportunities to work with the Miami Marlins, the NBC, and just from there decided I want to create my own path. I didn't want to work for someone. So as I was a full-time educator, I created projects that allowed me to scratch that itch, take all the tools that I've acquired over time, created a platform for music called Hotspot USA, interviewed hundreds of musicians, independent and major artists, traveled the country and doing tours, was into anime. So I did that as well, interviewed a lot of voice actors, went to conventions across the country. And through there, I learned the power of community. So I knew that whenever I stepped into a new realm, which would eventually take me to veganism, when I went vegan in 2013, I decided to do the same exact thing with that. So I built SoFLo Vegans as a way for me to connect with other people in my community, but also for me to use my gifts to support the community. Our goal is to help make South Florida become a global hotspot for veganism. So we do events. We've hosted over 200 events since launching in 2017. We did the podcast, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and videos. So it's the same thing you can do to get the word out there, let people know that it's, you see one side of it, you see the more vocal side of it, but there's also a lifestyle side of it. So my goal is to show you through the food that I eat, the events that I attend, that it is possible to thrive in a vegan lifestyle. It's possible to be cruelty-free and enjoy all the foods that you eat right now. So that's my whole professional life in a nutshell. But yeah, those are the things that really stand out for me. And of course, you have Lasaris Media, which I do. 2017, I decided to make the decision to really focus in on supporting businesses that are in that space where I like to operate. So a lot of the clients that we have for Lasaris Media come from SoFLo Vegans. Now that doesn't mean I'm excluding anyone that's not vegan. It's just anyone who is.
I don't know if vegans are a protected class, so I think you're probably okay to like.
well, in England last year they became a protected class, so we'll see what we can do down here. But no, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Excited to live here in South Florida, like you mentioned. The weather right now since the end of December has been beautiful. It's been perfect. I feel this is the longest stretch we've had of beautiful, cold, chilly, warm weather.
Yeah, it's cool, man. No, well, one of the things that like sticks out, and I definitely we'll definitely dive into the vegan part of things. But what I like, a lot of people listening tend to be other small business owners or people who work for larger companies, either as law firm, as attorneys, or realtors or financial advisors, whatever. And they make the jump. They decide, I want the freedom, even though that's probably not really true. It's not more free to have to be on your own, but the idea of working for yourself and everything is attractive to some people. And I always kind of say that, really whatever business you're in or whatever endeavor you're doing, the foundations for most of them are kind of the same. As far as, building that network, building the ground, building those relationships, putting people together. A lot of the skill sets that you have are very transferable to a lot of different types of business. And that's kind of what I heard you saying, like, I realized that this community thing is huge and you were interested in it. It was like maybe a pet pet project, side project, and then you just kind of like went to town on putting things together, which is what ultimately came to SoFLo Vegan.
Mhm. No, yeah, I mean, touching on a point that you made, it's, for me, that was a huge attraction to becoming a solo entrepreneur when I first started, is the fact that um, I kept, through the business, the companies I've worked for, kept hitting a ceiling. Like I was driven to climb, the ladder wherever I worked, because to me it was just a simple like equation. It's like, what would I want if I was the employer? Who would be the ideal employee for me? And that's what I decided to become. And through over time, I saw that okay, if I do these things, I'll get to where I want to go. But being working for myself, it's almost that same aspect, but you get to do it for multiple clients. You're not like trapped into one client the whole time. And then the other side of that is there's no ceiling to your potential, to what you can do. You're only limited to how much work you're willing to put into it. So what I've loved over the years is it's been like college in real time, where I'm learning different lessons that you can go to a consultant or go to a master class or whatever, and they tell you the same things, but it's different to experience it yourself. So I've taken value in both the obstacles that I've had to overcome as well as the successes. And I'm still learning right now. So that's exciting that every day I wake up and I learn a new lesson. It's like, all right, I'm growing. Yay, keep it going.
What I know you said a lot of your business has kind of come out of the SoFLo world. What's kind of like your, just so people listening, is like your kind of like typical client that you're working with, and then what are the services that you kind of help them with?
And so right now we're focusing mainly on web design. So it would be web maintenance. So if you have a website out there and maybe you're not thinking too much about the insurance of your website, because you can't just leave it open, because no matter what you have, there's ways to optimize it, make it go faster, and make sure it's not vulnerable to hacks. And you don't want to be in a position where you have your whole livelihood online and then somebody comes in and brute force attacks it, and then you lose all your information, which does happen, ladies and gentlemen. Not trying to scare you, but it does happen. So we do maintenance packages, we do management, so we do all your updates, and then we also do development. So if you want to create something from scratch or you want to do a revamp, we do that as well. One of the things I do say with our web design is that we have a very unique style aesthetic to what we create. So I want to make sure anybody who's interested in bringing us on understands that. And yeah, and you can check it out on lasars.com. So that's one of the things. But one of the big things that we do is video production. And that also plays a role into the web development. Our websites are content rich. I focus on telling stories through video platforms. So you'll see that with a lot of the content and projects that we've created. So right now we're focusing mainly on those two areas. And then we manage several brands where we do pretty much everything from A to Z. So it'll be the web development, the video production, the marketing, promotion, events, you name it, we have the ability to do it. So the Stars Media essentially is that. It's creating original productions like SoFLo Vegans, for example, and then supporting businesses that want to utilize our services.
Yeah. So shifting to SoFLo Vegan. So I'm curious. You said you went vegan in 2013. Um, why?
Well, I initially went vegan in 2008, and around that time, I was really into my health, looking at different ways to actually. It started with one of my. I got an opportunity to be in a commercial called for Beyond Diet, and the platform was interesting because it showed you every single thing you need to know about nutrition, like give you this long PDF document. So I walked out of it like, okay, I can't unsee that. And I know what nuts do for me. I know what rice, I know what meat, da 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 da. So I started cutting things out of my diet. And then it got to a point where it was like, there was somebody where I was working at the school, Silver Ridge Elementary, giving a shout out. Well, she was so cool. I just loved her vibe. And I asked her, kind of what's her deal? And she told me she was vegetarian. And of course, I've heard vegetarian, killer tofu, Doug, funny, and all that good stuff. And that was like deep cut for people who are
Yeah.
like in their 30s and plus. Um, where she told me she was vegetarian, and I looked deeper into it and I found veganism. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna do it, let me go all in. I went vegan. I was rocking and rolling for about 3 to 6 months. Went on a trip. This is around the time when Michael Jackson died, so I remember it vividly, to Los Angeles, and I couldn't find anything. I wasn't super huge on fruits and veggies, so I couldn't just go to the supermarket and pack up. It's weird, being vegan and not being big on fruits and veggies, but
Just ate Oreos only.
but I couldn't find anything, so I ended up resorting back to like eating a cheese pizza or something because it was convenient. And then 2013, leading up to that, that's when I started to put the plan into motion. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Let me take my strengths. Let me build a community. Let me make this a project. So there's more motivation behind just me. It's like I get to be, an example as part of this community. And it's been working ever since. So 2013, I took over a group called SoFLo Vegans on Meetup, rebranded it to SoFLo Vegans, spent 3 years building connections, working with nonprofits, doing as much as I can within the community, to the point where in 2017, when we launched, I had a network of people that I can reach out to. I ended up working with a lot of big festivals and then just getting the name out. And ever since then, we've just been continuing to grow.
Yeah, I think it's a word and a lifestyle that I don't know how many years ago people thought it's like crazy, but now it's like almost kind of trending a little bit to be to be vegan, to be vegetarian. Has South Florida been pretty receptive to it, or probably not all of Florida, because I was just a little bit in North Florida. North Florida is not South Florida, so.
Well, it's interesting because there's pockets in Florida that are its own global hotspots. You have Sarasota, which is huge, just in the country in terms of veganism. Orlando's consistently in the top 10. And a lot of that's because you have so many people coming in from other places there. It's a huge tourist destination. So you want to accommodate, the different types of people are out there. And then you have South Florida. I feel like one of the great things about South Florida, no matter which industry you're in, is the innovation that comes out of here. I feel like a lot of people who live in other parts of the country flock to South Florida. One, obviously because of the weather, but two, because they see it as there's opportunity to expand. There's not that much saturation of whatever it is they're doing. So I'm seeing a lot more organizations and businesses start here in South Florida. And where I'm coming in, the role I'm filling in is pulling the community together to support those efforts. Because one of the things I will say, having lived here my entire life and being involved in so many different, types of projects, is that there's so much going on. You almost can get frozen in what you want to do. It's easy just to get focused on what you're creating or what you're about, to not see that there's so many other things that are happening. So my goal is to just tie all these things together under one umbrella, so people can see that from the Keys all the way up to Jupiter, we are a global hotspot for veganism. There's always something happening, and you just get to tap into that.
Well, I would imagine, that the community aspect, especially for a vegan, is huge because, probably maybe you make your immediate circle and those end up being a bunch of vegan and friends and whatnot. But when you're starting out on that journey, you might not be around that. And like your partner, your spouse, whoever might not be on that journey with you. I've been vegetarian pretty much the majority of my life, and a lot of people aren't. So you're in a lot of time, and they just maybe look at you funny or jokes or whatnot. And but I'm curious. I wonder, do you feel like that community, having that SoFLo vegan, kind of like just is like kind of like a relief for a lot of people to get together, like, you get me, sort of thing?
I think I want to say yes, but in reality, in practice, it's not that simple, because veganism is really, because it is more of a belief than anything, you don't see it on someone. So it's not easy to identify someone as being vegan unless they're saying it or you're at an event where they're eating, and maybe they're not. They just like the taste of a, of a tofu burger. Um, So with that, it's as you start to really dig deep into the community and see people come together, you start to see a line form between people focusing on what they have in common and then focusing on what they have, um, what the differences are. So this becomes a little microcosm of the world in general, where people are, there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of people feel, for me, let me put it this way. Let me stop focusing on so much of the negative aspects of it. For me, it's all about compassion. That's why I'm vegan. Some people are vegan for the animals, some people are vegan for health, the environment. I'm vegan for compassion because I know how I feel and who I can be if I don't ground myself as being a compassionate person. So for me, I see that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I see in everyone. And for me, I want us to get to a place where we all can, regardless of our differences, how we've been wronged in our life, that we can keep that piece of compassion in our hearts, so it doesn't consume us. And I think that's a distinction that's not often made. Is the compassion is for the other person. You're not having compassion for the other person for you. I'm making this up for me now. People may think of compassion in a different way. But for me, it's like, I want to ground myself in compassion so what you do to me doesn't bring me to the point where I'm doing it to somebody else. So for me, the community that embodies that the most is the vegan community, because that's at the core of their belief system. So that's why I'm vegan, because I know it's like, why am I going to start from scratch trying to create a whole different movement when there's a movement out there that I can jump into and then share how I feel and see the world. So that's where I am with veganism. And there's so many cool things that are happening right now. And my background in media production puts me in a position to tell that story. And I feel the longer we do it, is the more people can go back into time, like a time machine, and say, okay, this is how the vegan community has grown in South Florida. And maybe somebody in another city or another location can see that and say, oh, wow, let me get started on that now for Cleveland, and build it from scratch. Get people to, oh, what did they do? They did this. Oh, this is how they got this started. All right, let's do that here. And that seed then gets planted in another place and into another place. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and that leads me to the question, so I know that you said, I think is, the goal of SoFLo Vegans is to kind of create a hotspot, global hotspot for veganism here in South Florida. So is, one of the, I guess, how are you guys doing that? How are you bringing people together? Like, what are the things that draw people to SoFLo Vegan, and maybe how things have been affected? I know you do events and stuff, but obviously with COVID and everything, maybe a little bit different. So how are you guys bringing people in, and then what's the goal? And maybe that's the goal that you mentioned, as far as exporting this brand, where, hey, you can take what this package that we've done, how we've built our community, and put it in Cleveland, put it in, Atlanta, wherever, other areas.
So what we do and how we're helping to make South Florida a global hotspot for veganism, that's our motto, is to showcase all the people that are doing that work. Because what I find is that there's no shortage of people with the same goal, with the same mission. But what happens is, if it's not captured, if there's not a historian present to show that it happened, it gets forgotten. We don't tend to live in the past. I mean, we do, but as a whole, as a society, it's better to try to be present and then move forward. So we showcase it through our video content, through our video content. That's the main thing. But then we create events to build that community of people who are up to big things. So if you want to look at SoFLo Vegans, this is your first time hearing about us, we're really a community for change agents, for people who are up to big things. And it could be as simple as just going vegan. That's your big thing. We're here to support you. And we're here for the businesses that are putting in the hours, putting in the resources, the nonprofits that are looking for the support. They don't know what to do. We're here to help and support them and tell their stories, knowing that the internet is a global platform that anyone can see at any time. So while we are regional and we're kind of focused on South Florida, our other audience is the world, because we want people to have a window into what South Florida is. It's not just nightlife, it's not just South Beach. It's a lot of amazing communities doing things um, for the planet and for everybody.
Yeah. I know we're kind of coming up on our time here, but where, how can, I guess, how can people get involved, learn more about you, get involved, and what would you recommend for maybe someone who's thinking about, hey, I've got, like you said, people I think come to it for different reasons, whether it's the compassion, whether it's the animals, whether it's the health or whatnot. What would you just say to somebody who's maybe like got one of those reasons in the back of their mind?
I would say for sure go to SoFLoVegans.com. I try to make it really easy for you to become a member. Membership is free, but what it does is it plugs you in so you're not constantly searching for the information. We have a couple shows right now. We have a spotlight show where we showcase different businesses, give you an insight into how the owner thinks, kind of what their motivations are, but showcase food and kind of what they're up to. So if you go through the videos, you might see something that resonates with you, and you can go out there and support them, have some good food. We do the same for events, nonprofit organizations. So I know a lot of people, when they first get started, they want to get involved and volunteer. You can essentially just go through this catalog of different things that are happening in South Florida and see how you want to get involved. So I would say become a member would be the first step. And then from there, we can build that relationship to see how you would want to support SoFLo Vegans. So yeah, I would say that's a good place to start, because we're literally connected with everybody that's part of this vegan community, both locally and globally. And our goal is through our podcast. We're up to like episode 52 now. You can catch a glimpse of that as well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and I give a shout out to the website. I went there. I was looking for some vegan cookbooks, and went on there and found a couple, I think, from your website, and bought a couple. So
Nice.
awesome, brother. I appreciate it, man. And last thing I'll ask you is, what are some top recommendations, restaurants here in Miami that you like? And I don't know Fort Lauderdale, because I don't travel north of Wynwood. So for those of people who live down here, I'm in a little bubble down here. So.
No worries, no worries. Like, yeah, there's so many out there. One, I would say, you touched on it a little bit, our directory is a good resource to see all the different restaurants and things that are out there. So definitely check that out when you go on the website. But just off the top of my head, like if you're in Miami, some mainstays, businesses that have been there for a while, Love Life Cafe, they've been rocking for a while. Holy Vegan Kitchen, they have a couple of locations, some really good food there. And yeah, Charlie's Vegan Tacos, you have Mora's Pizza. Yeah, there's some good places. I know I'm forgetting a few. The Thatch is another one. Plantisserie. We have a couple of new ones that are opening up. But like I said, there's so
There's a
much.
lot. There's a
that's
lot,
just
yeah.
Miami. That's
Yeah,
just
there's a lot.
Miami. So yeah, vegetarian restaurant by Hakeem. Yeah, so definitely the best way is to check out the website. See, we have it sorted by city and county, so you can kind of see what there's. And the other part to it is we have the videos, so you can actually see the interviews with the people and see what fits your fancy.
Cool. Sean, appreciate it, man. Love the work you're doing. Appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Not a problem. You have a good one.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.